Right, welcome guys. This is our National Housing Party UK Manchester meeting. It's a privilege to be here. And what Manchester's a massive city now. When you drive into it, it's incredible how high it is. It's like a global city. But it's great to be with all patriots, people who are motivated to get involved with politics. That's what's so refreshing when you're a member of a party, that you meet fellow patriots and people who care about their country, people with a sense of purpose, who want to impact the environment around them, who want to help. They want to help society, they want to improve society, they want to help people with the issues they face. But we want to make a better world, don't we? I mean, it sounds idealistic, but that's our sense of purpose, that we want to change things for the better. We see a lot of problems around us. That's why we're involved. We can't ignore the problems that are going on. We see the problem of homelessness. It's a big word, but people without homes. We see people struggling to find homes, especially young families. The rent in the private sector now are sky high. The cost of actually buying a house is out of the reach of most ordinary people, and social housing is not available. It was one thing to sell council houses, but to actually take social housing away from the working class has rendered a lot of them without homes to build families. This is crucial to the creation of a nation. And not only there is a lack of homes for British families, we have the indignity of seeing people brought in from abroad who've got no claim on our nation, who've never contributed at all to our nation, and not part of our national family. They're going right to the top of the housing list, and they're getting the social housing. That is such a huge scandal in this country, that our social housing, I think in London, it is more than 50% of the properties now go to people who are born outside of the UK. And this is the same in all the big cities now. So we're being dispossessed and replaced in our own land. This is the great replacement. But we're patriots. We love our country, we love our people, and we don't want to see our nation flush down the toilet. We're aware of what a great nation Britain has been in the past. We've stood for Christian values. We've stood for good things. You know, we've stood for good government. We've stood for fairness and justice and the rule of law, and we spread this all over the world. It's called Pax Britannia. Getting rid of crime, getting rid of bullying, getting rid of abuse, and putting decency and Christian values in its place. And that's the nation that we've grown up in. So we're really horrified when we see that we're losing these values, that we're being systematically discriminated against because we're British. What is wrong with our government that they cannot stand up to this small boat invasion across the channel? I mean, you can imagine some of the greats from the past, I think Mrs. Thatcher, Winston Churchill, anyone, would they have allowed this to happen? So, you know, we can't do it because we're in the, the Human Convention, the European Human Rights Convention and the United Nations Convention of 1951. If these are controlling our government, we need to leave them and reassert our sovereignty. It's that simple. Britain must become first. The British government is to represent the British people first. Yeah. Like Trump says, put America first, put Britain first. It's like a father, he puts his own family first. He doesn't put another family first, because you can't be responsible for the whole world. The government does not take responsibility for the British people, especially the ordinary British people. I mean, they listen to these globalist elites around the world, and they're dictating policy on so many issues. We've heard today, I mean, John has shown great indignation about the fact that Palestine and Israel and Ukraine are dominating our politics. But it's like globalism. It's like having AIDS. You lose your immune system, you can't control what's coming into your country, and it's just coming in and overwhelming us. And where does the British people want our problems resolved? We have the National Housing Party, we want our social issues resolved. They're more focused on sending money and paying attention to all these international issues across the globe. And they're here, they become the hub of our country's political debates now. I mean, there's justice and there's right and wrong, and we need to be part of that. And of course, we are part of an international order, and we don't like what's happening. But we need to assert that this is our country. This belongs to us. This is what we seem to have lost. The sense of belonging. This is our nation. When we say Britain belongs to us, that's not aggressive. That's not being nasty to anybody else. That's just asserting.
It does
this
belong to us. It's
is
our land.
our land.
My
Just
land.
like you say, this is our home, this is our city, this is our nation, and we expect our government to protect our nation and to prosper our nation. Now, we've created this party, the National Housing Party of the UK, to allow the British people to assert themselves again, to have a voice again. We're standing in local elections, we're building up a network across the country, we're getting a presence on social media. We're under no illusion that we alone can save this nation, but we know that we're making a contribution, that we've got a sense of purpose, and we can change what is happening. I've seen it before with small parties. I remember when UKIP were a tiny party, they had a massive impact, and eventually we got Brexit. I remember when the BNP were a tiny party, but they had a massive impact, and they forced the government to address the issues of immigration and housing. We have to have an impact. It was a small oak, it was a small acorn, we've been planted, and we've now germinated. We're only just over a year old, but we're growing rapidly. We've got a massive presence on social media. And people know who we are.
Yeah.
They know that our name is now recognised. We've just had the candidate, one of the leading candidates for the mayoral position in Manchester, Nick Buckley's turned up to speak at our meeting. We're a recognised organisation, and we've achieved that in less than 18 months. Imagine what we could do, and we haven't got any money here. Nick talked about it, he's got no money behind him. We're just on small donations, we're just speaking out, asserting ourselves, we're raising the important issues. I mean, Pat, who was one of the founders, Pat McGuinness of this party, he raised the issue of the UN Convention of 1951, which is controlling our borders. We need to leave that. And that became acknowledged throughout the whole political arena. You can make an impact. You can punch above your weight. Why is that? Because we're seeking what is right. Now, we've seen George Galloway just win this by-election in Rochdale because he had righteousness on his side. He was standing up against the Labour Party and the Tory Party, who refused to represent the British people, who refused to speak out of justice on international issues, and he got a great response. We need to get that response from people. We need to change the way people think and the way people vote. It's a long process, but we're embarking on a journey here. And we're a small party, we're a growing party, and we're saying to other parties across the country, maybe it's the Homeland Party, maybe it's the Heritage Party, look at what we're doing and join us. We are a Christian party, so we have a special power which comes from above. I mean, people are very cynical about religion now because it's been driven out of the public sphere. But there's another thing, I want to take my hat off to George Galloway in Rochdale. He constantly referenced God. He said, God willing, if it's God's will, God have mercy. And that was so refreshing to hear that one of our politicians has stepped out of this prison of humanism and said, look, there's a bigger picture out there. There's a sense of right and wrong here. There's a sense of a bigger purpose in life. This is why we're here today, because we sense that we're part of a bigger purpose in life than just to live and die and just live out our life in a mundane way. We want to contribute to making a change in this country, and I believe we can do that. And one of the ways we're going to do it is to stand in local elections and campaign in local elections. And we've already done that. We've done that in Gloucestershire, we've done it in London, we've done it in the North West. We're going to continue doing it in the East Midlands. It's going to go all across England. We're going to stand candidates and we're getting decent votes because people are hearing our message. We're going on the doorstep, we're knocking, and we're interacting with the general public. The public are being cut off from politics. The politicians want to keep politics just for an elite and it's their plaything and they shuffle the money between themselves. We're saying no. This country belongs to the people. The people must be heard. We are the popular voice. It's no longer a question of the right of politics or the left of politics anymore. It's the people against the elite. That's why I've got a good friend here, Steve Mulholland from the Workers' Party. Now, I've known Steve since we was at school. Steve is more on the left, and more on the right. But we're seeing common ground now. We've got to leave NATO. We've got to pull out of these international wars. Our elite is pushing us into a third world war. They want to conscript the youth of Britain to fight their globalist wars. Now, you talk about Israel and Palestine, no more wars for Israel. We've been in Iraq. We've been in Afghanistan. We fought the Gulf War. I've seen, young lads, British lads, have lost their lives in these battles. And for what? What were they giving their lives for? What were they coming back with no legs for? For anything of value? No. We need to pull out of these globalist wars. No to NATO. No to pouring money into this atrocity, this obscenity in the Ukraine, where Zelensky and his mafia government they're trying to take over Russia, the globalists. And they stepped on Russian turf and they began to impose themselves, and the Russians have pushed back. This is an internal issue. It's not for us to invest billions into this war. How much has the Tory government put into Ukraine so far? 7,000 million. 7 billion pounds. I mean, imagine the impact that could have on the housing situation in this country. You could build the homes for 1 million people with that at least. We're just throwing good money after bad. We've got to stop this. And of course, we have to expose the Labour Party, because the Labour Party always presents itself as the People's Party. They care about the workers, but do they? No. When we're campaigning in local elections, we ask people, do you know your Labour councillor? They say no. We've never met them. They've never been round. Have you tried to contact them? Yeah, over this issue. We go door to door. We hear what the issues are on the doorstep. Crime, collecting rubbish,
noise pollution,
housing, noise pollution. People can't get jobs. Overcrowding is a big issue. We hear these issues that the Labour Party should address. They don't address them. They just take the people for granted. But we've got to assert ourselves. We're examples to others around us to get involved. If you're watching this today on social media, my message to you is get involved. Take that step. Join the family. We're a family of patriots who are fighting on behalf of ordinary people in this country. We're not left, we're not right. We're making alliances. We're making alliances with the Workers' Party. We'll make alliances with other parties. We want to bring the British people together to assert themselves and take control of their country again. And we're doing this as a Christian party. That's why we're so distinctive, because we've got a sense of morality. Because another thing we have with the links us to the Workers' Party is we want to oppose the woke agenda. Now, we've just seen this TV programme which has been made, Hollyoaks, pushing transgenderism, the abuse of kids. That's got to stop. This whole sex education in schools has got to stop. I mean, one of the biggest sections in society which are opposed to this are the Muslims, and that's a campaign we can have with the Muslims. We've got to stop. We've got to stop this abuse of our kids. We've got to stop. There are so many evils happening at the moment. We have to assert ourselves and say this is not being done in the name of the British people. The British people need a voice, and the National Housing Party of the UK is an important voice for the British people. It's an important vehicle for the British people to get on board. We're registered as a political party. We're making an impact, and we can make a much bigger impact. If the British people get on board, we can really assert ourselves and reclaim our country before it's too late. It's not too late yet, but if you don't have that sense of urgency, if you don't get involved, if you don't stand up for what is right, it will be too late. And then we will all regret it. Because we can't bury our heads in the sand. We can't pretend that we're not being dispossessed, that we're not being ignored. We can't pretend that anymore. We've got to assert ourselves, and we've got to get involved. Join the National Housing Party of the UK. Let's make a difference. Let's stand candidates. Let's give people a choice, and let's save this nation, because that's what we're called to do. Save Britain. Thank you.
Hang on for 14.5 minutes. That's